Okay, let's continue here with adding all the electronics here to the Benett. We've got a airspeed or a pitot tube. We've got our extender and our buzzer. We've got obviously our flight controller. We've got our GPS and our airspeed sensor. We got our Spectrum SRXL2 receiver, and we got a 30 amp Zoid ESC. One of the things, I love these Zoid 30 amp ESCs. They have this JST plug off that comes off them. And this JST plug gives you battery voltage. So if we're using a 3S battery, a 12 volt battery, this is perfect for powering LED lights or video cameras or transmitters, whatever you got. But anyway, I really like these 30 amp Zoid ESCs. They've done well for us in the stem wing and now in the Benett. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to notch out for this for the receiver, and I'm going to plan to put the receiver like right here on here. So real simple, I just take a black magic marker or Sharpie, and I'm just going to make 4 dots at each corner here. And then what I'm going to do here is cut that out, and I'm going to cut this out, put this you guys can see. Just going to box around here, and I'm going to cut it a little under what I measured so that we get a nice tight fit. And I'm moving this just so you guys can see there on your end better. You could also burn this out if you wanted to, but this EPP foam is not great for burning. So in the sake of reducing fumes, this is probably the best bet here. And I'm just going to cut like a grid pattern here. And there we go. Now I'm just going to grab a needle nose pliers. Let's see if I got my needle nose pliers here. Yep, I got this one. I'm actually going to grab this one over here. Now I'm just going to pluck out each one of those squares that I cut. It's finally starting to get a little nicer here in Arizona. We're in the upper 90s today and drying out. The monsoons are gone, so it's getting much easier to work here in the garage and do these videos. So anyway, you saw how I cut that out there. Oh, got one more row to go here. So it turned out real nice there. Grab my receiver, unplug it here. I'll just do a test. That's like perfect. Nice and tight, not going to go anywhere. If you overcut it, don't worry. Dab a hot glue and you're in business. So just clean that out a little bit. Now, I'm going to make a little cut for the cord for the wires to go here. I'm just going to cut right there. I'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to notch this just so the cord has a path to kind of follow. I just pop that out with my knife. So there we go. Happy with that. Let's plug this back in. Like that, and then I like using a toothpick to embed my wires, just so that if you use something metal, you always run that risk of cutting the wires with something metal, so I like to use wood, something wood. But anyway, now let's see how I want to route this. I'm going to route this, I think something like that. Let's see, because I don't want to interfere with the holes here at all. Let's see, yeah, I'll do something like that. Grab my knife here. I'm just going to cut a nice little curved path like that. And this EPP foam, make sure you got a nice sharp knife for this stuff, because it really does not like to cut at all. All right, and let's embed that the rest of the way. Grab my toothpick here. I'm just holding this so you guys can see this at home, how I'm doing it. There you go. If I really wanted to, I could get a little bit more fancy with that and glue it in place and everything. But anyway, that's how I'm going to leave it for right now, just like that. Next thing I'm going to do here on this is I am going to cut a bit of the cutout here and install it as a side panel here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to install anything up the front here, because I want to use that for my battery. So I think I'll cut a section of this to right here, and I'm going to glue that in place. So that's all I'm going to do. Again, nice sharp knife. I'm going to cut about a 1/2 inch maybe or so, and I'm just eyeballing this cut. Just eyeballing it, about a 1/2 inch. Find my cut. That's one thing here on this EPP foam, it's hard sometimes to see where you cut. Sometimes I'll take a black marker and notch over, or go over wherever I made my cut. So as you guys see, I do this all real time. So even when I make mistakes, you guys are seeing it in real time, the mistakes that I make, how I correct those if I make them, because we're all going to make mistakes or not be happy with how we did something. And I show you how I correct those as we go along here, get rid of these scraps so they don't all end up all over our work. Now I'm going to glue this in place right here, and like I said, I don't think I'm going to use the front section, so I'm just going to cut that right here. And now I'm going to glue this in. I'm going to glue this in right here. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Just going to get my hot glue gun here. Let's see here. Add a little bit of hot glue right here, just a little bit. Add a little bit down here. I'll do the same thing on the top side. Dripped a little bit, but that's okay. Put that in place there. And then I'm going to just squeeze the frame down nice and tight and hold that for a second. And just push this flush with my fingers. and hope it stays. There we go. I'll just hold that for a couple seconds. It is still, like I said, it's still hot here in Arizona. Like I said, it's in the upper 90s today, but it's nice and dry. But it's amazing how much that it still affects the cure time on this hot glue. It just takes forever for the hot glue to set up. Just gonna let that hold it for another second or two. Another thing I can do here is just add a little bit to the exterior. And just go over that with a scrap piece. Let's see, we'll go over it with this. Just mush that down in there. Kind of help secure that in place. And just go over it with a scrap piece. Fill in the cracks there a little bit. So I think that's probably about set up. Let's see. A little bit more right here. And just go over it with a scrap piece. Let that set up for a minute here. And that gives us some structure here as well when we put the wings on. There we go, happy with that. Okay, next we're going to add our speed controller here. Still going to hold that down for a little bit. Don't worry, I'll fast forward this in the video. Okay, now we got a good bond. Now, next thing I'm going to do is my speed controller here. I fish the motor wires through a little hole back here that I put in the back of the fuselage. Pull those forward. If it's a little tight for you, you can always take the motor mount off. It gives you a little bit more slack to work with. And obviously right now I'm just guessing the order on these. See, I'll grab my little pliers, make it easier on myself here. You got 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that is done. Now I've got to create like a little pad back here for the ESC. That's where I'm going to put the ESC right there. So now what I got to do, I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to drizzle a little bit of hot glue in there. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of hot glue in there. So this EPP foam does not like to be to have anything like tape. It doesn't like tape at all. Tape doesn't stick to it very well. But if you use hot glue or E6000, you saw I smeared that in there. The hot glue gets into the crevices and creates a nice surface for us to put tape on. And so you'll see where I'm going with this next. Let me grab some double-sided tape. Okay, so like I was saying, I spread that hot glue in there, and it's still tacky, but it's drying. Yeah, so like what I was saying is, here's on this piece of, or on the back side of the speed controller here, we've got the fuzzy type of Velcro. So we need the other half of the Velcro, the plastic side of the Velcro, and we're going to place that right in there. But this is sticky back Velcro, And if I were to take this and just try to apply it here to the EPP, it won't stick at all. It might stick a little bit, but not well. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to put that on the back of the ESC there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push that in place there. I'm going to pull my wires kind of tight just so that they don't get in the way of the propeller. And now our ESC is mounted right where I want it to go. The wires are nice and tight. We don't have any issues with those going into the propeller. So that's that. Next, let's see, do I want to do, maybe I'll do the flight controller next. Actually, you know what, I'm going to do the flight controller last. I'm going to explain why. I want all the wires to come through first so that we have a nice spot for mounting, or we have a good idea of our location for mounting the flight controller. So let's go ahead, let's do our pitot tube next. So the pitot tube, I'm going to mount something like this right here. I think that works for me, right about there. So again, just like we did with the Spectrum receiver, I'm just going to put some marks here. And try to get it nice and straight with the fuselage, in line with the longitudinal axis, I guess would be what you would say. Or parallel with the longitudinal axis. Just going to put some dots here where things line up. Alright, I think I'm going to go right there. Now the difference here is I think I'm actually going to melt this one out with my, I'm going to melt that with my torch and my screwdriver here. I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to grab my torch. You could cut it out, be a little patient and cut it out. But for the video here, I'm going to melt it out. Got my torch, just heating this up. I'm just going to drag this here. I'm in my garage where it's pretty ventilated, so I don't inhale these fumes here. Just like that. Alright, let's see how it fits. Yeah, not bad at all. I'll add some more space back here for the pitot tube, or for the tubes. To route back there, like that. Alright, let's see how it's looking now. I guess I am pretty happy with that. Now, let's see. Make one little slice here. Okay, now I'm just going to take my tubing here. Put it on the pitot tube, just like that. Make sure it all sits on there nice, and I'm just going to pick this up and make sure it's level and nice and straight with my fuselage. Get my torch out of the way so I don't accidentally knock that over. Alright, time to apply the hot glue and put this in place here. I'm just going to take hot glue, put a little bit of hot glue in here. I'll take a little bit just to lock it in place on the top here. I'm just going to hold this while that hot glue dries. And remember, this is supposed to be a project to get you used to using all this stuff. And then the next time you want to do one of Chris's Dracs or a bigger project, this is kind of the trainer for that, to get you used to using the equipment, some of the different techniques here, using the controller itself, obviously, and the GPS and the whole 9 yards. So this is kind of just to get your feet wet with this stuff. And that's looking real nice there, nice and straight. Just takes forever for this hot glue to dry here, just because it is so warm. So I think it's tacky enough, it's not going to go anywhere. All right, let me get my glue gun out of the way. I think the next thing I'm going to do is mount the GPS, and the GPS, and the magnetic compass, I'm going to put on top here underneath the wing. Let's see where that's going to come out. Below there. I think I'm just going to go like right there with it. Right there. You notice that the compass or the GPS has also an arrow on it indicating the forward. So you want to make sure that you put that going forward. I'm going to go right like that. And that's all I'm going to do to embed this is, again, grab my marker. And I'm just going to draw a box around here. I'm going to get this as straight as possible. There we go with that. And again, let's see, I'm going to use my little hobby knife, although I'm not too sure how sharp this is. And again, I'm just doing that same box pattern that I did before when I cut out for the Spectrum receiver. It's done. Let me put this knife away so I don't stab myself. Alright, just like we did for the Spectrum receiver, I'm just going to start pulling this out. just like that. I'm gonna grab my GPS, and that's more than perfect for that. And that'll be under the wing. And remember, the wing is just made out of foam and paper, and that GPS will blaze right, the signal will go right through the foam, no problem. So now I just gotta make a little hole for my wires to go back there. And just because it's available, I'm gonna burn that out with get my blowtorch and burn a hole through. Grab my junk screwdrivers that I use for burning holes with. So let me grab my blowtorch here. Grab my junk screwdriver here. I'm just gonna create a little hole here for the wires to go through into the fuselage. I think I'm through. Kind of a thicker area. Nope, not quite yet. There, now I can see I'm through. All right, let's see. I can get the end of the wire for the GPS through there. Yep, I can get it through there. I just need a needle nose pliers to grab it and pull it through. Oop, I pushed it back through. There we go, I can see it. There we go, pulled through. Now, just plug in the GPS. So that's the front, this is the back. Make sure our wires all line up, and they do. Plug that in. I'm just going to bed that in there, no need to even glue that in, because it'll stay there. And the wings on top nicely. All right, so that's that. I know we got what looks like a wiring disaster here, but we'll clean that up a little bit as we move on here. So the next thing we got to do, we got to kick this out for our airspeed sensor. So let's take a look where our airspeed sensor is going to lay out nicely here. So let's see, we could put our airspeed sensor somewhere back here like this. It'll be just fine. We could go up here, I guess. Right there, maybe. So, grab a scissors here. I think that's set up. Yep, that's all set up. It's embedded in there. Not going anywhere. All right, I think I'm going to put the airspeed sensor right there. So this tube is going to come right here. Cut it right about there. And then this one gets installed here on this, right here, like that. And then this one's going to go right to there. And this one's the static portion of it. I'll cut that back like right there. Let's see, we'll start right there. And if I have to cut a little more off, we'll cut a little more off. And I think that's going to be good. So I think I am happy with that. No kinks in the tubes here at all. You wouldn't want to kink it at all. So that's going to sit right there. So again, like we did with the speed controller, what we're going to have to do is we've got to create a little pad here for this to sit on, for it to get taped to, or else it will not adhere to the surface. And there is actually a little bit, that's where I put some hot glue on there earlier, but I'm going to make that pad, or that area a little bit bigger. Just fill in the foam with a little bit of hot glue, like that. Grab something to smear it in here. Let that dry a minute. Tuck that out of the way so it doesn't get into the glue. And then while that's drying, I'm going to cut a little piece of double-sided tape here. There's already a nice little square cut. Put that on the back here of the airspeed sensor. And peel that backing off, which is way easier said than done. Got it. Now, put that like right there. Make sure none of our tubes are kinked. And right there, I'm happy with that. Now, let's create a place here for the wires to come through. Oh, maybe we'll come like right here. So again, I'm just going to burn this through. I'm just going to put that hole for our wire like right there. I'm here in my garage doing this, so sorry about the car noise and stuff, but it's the way it is until I get a shop of some type. So, try to put this so you can see this. I fish this through, get these wires out of my way. A lot of this I'm doing in a manner that you guys can see that's not necessarily always easier for me. So that is in there. I'll grab a toothpick here, push this through a little bit. Whenever I push any of these connectors through, I always use toothpick because I don't want to use something metal to run the risk of breaking wires. So anyway, now we're going to connect the airspeed sensor here. Turn that around a little bit. Should let this dry a little bit more, it's still tacky. Can always touch it up with some hot glue later. So anyway, I think it's going to stick, I hope. Don't want it to come off, wouldn't be good. So anyway, that's in there. We're down to our last couple things here. Next thing is the extender, but before I do the extender, I think I'm going to put this in place because now I can easily wire up everything here. So even let me grab a Y connector here, that one right here, previously used Y connector. Anyway, if we remember from our diagram here, we're going to plug in S4 right across here. S4 is going to be our aileron. S6 is going to be our elevator. So signal goes like this. I'm going to plug that right in like that. So you can see that's our aileron. Our elevator servo is already installed, so that's going to get installed right here. And just keep in mind when you install that, the signal S6 is the pin that's closest here when we install that. So this, I imagine I am going to put like right here in the vehicle. So again, we got to create a pad for that with hot glue. So I'm just going to take hot glue, get a good amount in there, grab a scrap piece here, and I'm just going to mush that in place here and make a nice pad for the flight controller to sit on. We'll let that dry a little bit here. While we wait for that to dry, I can cut the double-sided tape. It's going to go on the back here. Actually, I want a bigger piece. Pull that out of there. Put that right there in place. Let's see if we can get the backing off. Sometimes way easier said than done. Huh. Maybe I gotta pull backing off while I'm making how-to videos, because this one came off really nice and easy. Oh, I should have left the backing on for just a little while longer while I actually got a scrap piece of backing here. Let's put that on there for right now. Okay, we'll plug away, put everything in place here. So, wire management. Good luck. Anyway, first thing I'll plug in is our Spectrum receiver, and that's going to get plugged in here. These back two pins right here. We got our negative or ground. We got our positive. We're going to skip one, and then we're going to TX2, which is right there. So what I just did here was I connected the negative to the ground, a positive, I skipped one, and then TX2. Let's see, what do we want to install next? Let's get this mess out of the way here. Next, I will install the these wires. That's the negative, positive. This one would be the RX4 and then the TX4. And that's going to get installed right there on those 4 pins. The next one I'm going to install is the clock and the data. So it goes SCL, which is clock, SDA, data, and then ground. So the black is going to come on this side of the board, right like, let's see, right like this. Right on there like that. We got our ailerons. Let's see, what else could we connect here? We can connect our speed controller, signal wire. White goes to white, so I'm going to put that in there just like this. And then we can even install our positive and negative lead to our speed controller. That's our battery lead. And the last thing I'll hook up here is the elevator. And that's going to go just like that. So with that said, I think I got everything installed right. Pull the tape off on the bottom. I think that was enough time for the glue to set up on there. And now, put this all in place here. And remember, I want to try to keep that board nice and straight. It's not crooked or kittywampus. Just like that. Grab a little skewer here just to help me put that in place. That's real nice. I'm happy with that. Again, remember the board has a forward, which I should have mentioned earlier. I knew the forward was the way I have it installed, going forward like that. So if you can see, this is where the signal pins are down here for the servos. So when the board's put together, this part's mashed on the top here like that. So this is the forward section. And as you can see there, my servo wires here are forward. Wire management, we'll fix this up now as well. And make sure that's, yep, that's good. All right, let's do a little wire management here because this is a little untidy. Get that out of the way, push that back in there. Actually, this isn't that bad, really. We'll fix up our signal wire here for our speed controller. Wrapped around those power leads there. And overall, it's not bad. Everything kind of tucks in there nicely. So that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a trainer with doing this kind of stuff. So I just like to get the wires out of the way, just so it kind of looks a little pretty. But we know everything's connected. We know everything's in there. We got our aileron servo connectors there. Battery gets plugged in right there. So far so good. The last thing we got to do is make a connection point here so that we can plug in our buzzer. So we know that that's got to get connected like right there. So this will be real easy to notch out here. And notch out this part right here. I'm trying to do this so you can see. Notch out this part right here. Did I get, nope, I gotta go up a little bit. So we'll just take out that whole section right there. And I am gonna have to retouch that up with some hot glue there. There, now we have access for our extender. Get plugged in right there. And then let's see, how do I don't want to run the extender wires. I run those on the inside with all the other wiring mess. I think what I'll do is just run, pull these back a little bit here. I am just going to run these extender wires back behind everything here, kinda, sorta. Let's see. Manipulate it through with my those pliers here is probably the best way, or convenient way, I guess. Come on. There we go. Almost got it. Again, I'm just fishing this through. Try to keep the wires all on the inside. So it kind of looks neat on the outside. I'm almost done, come on. There we go. So I'm going to pull that through. Still good and connected there. So I'm going to have the wires come through right over there on just the other side of the ESC. I think is just fine. So I'll heat up my junk screwdriver here and just create a little exit point back here for those wires. A little bit bigger than that. Take my needle nose pliers, see if I can push it through there a little bit. So that's through, and that's good. Reconnect my buzzer again, and my extender here. Just like that, and I'm going to mount that right there, just like that. So again, we got to create a pad for that to sit on. A little bit of hot glue here. Scrap piece of foam. We'll let that dry for a minute. Put a piece of double-sided tape, and I'm going to stick that right there. Lift up the other side of the tape there. There we go. Let's see if that's dry. Yep, dry enough. Put that right there. I'm going to touch up this airspeed sensor. Hold it there for a minute. Let the glue cure. So that is the basic hookup here. I'll grab the wing. We'll put the wing on it. Grab a battery. We'll power this up. So stand by. Let me grab my wing, grab my controller, grab a battery. In 1 second here. All right, so let's keep going here with getting everything put together. I got a 5.3 Ethics prop I'm going to put on here. Let me get a spacer. So I like to add a little spacer just because we have the room to do so. And let me get one out of here. Yeah, there's one. That one's a little big. That one will be just right. So I'm going to put the spacer on here. This just gets the prop out and away from the motor a little bit. It gives you just a little bit better, cleaner airflow. I got room to add one more. Get this way out there, be nice. So I'll add one more. Hey Benett, you're in the video now. And one more. I'm picky. Is that the right size on there? Nope. Is that one? Nope. Here we'll find one of these ones will work. There we go. So I was able to get two spacers on here. So prop going on here like that. Get my nut driver here. Where's my nut driver? Oh, maybe it's in the house. Well, I guess I'll just use the pliers here. All right, our prop is on there. Get these out of the way. All right, what else do we got to do here? Let's get I guess we can rubber band on the wings, or we can put the battery in place. The battery's going to sit inside here like that. I've got a battery strap here. Get the battery strap rigged on there. Battery strap comes through. I just got to think about this. So it comes through like that. I'm going to come around and get connected like that. So we want this to go through here like that. Let's see if this is the right size strap. Oh, pulled that right through. If you don't have a battery strap, you can always use a rubber band. No big deal here with, and of course I put it on wrong. It's gotta be flipped around. See, I told you I make mistakes too. I've been doing this for years and I still make the occasional mistake. You got to think about things, and anyway, put that through there like that. So now we got a battery strap, keep the battery in place there. If you wanted to, you could always add a little Velcro. I don't think it's really necessary with this model at all. Let's get the wings strapped on. We might have to do a little bit of cutting for the, actually, this is a good point right here. So we basically have our airplane built out as it would be for flying. What we can do here now is determine where our center of gravity is. And our center of gravity on this one feels like it's right about there. So I'm going to put a mark there. So right there is our center of gravity. Now that helps me determine where to place the wing. So I'm going to place the wing right about there. Is going to be good. I want the wing to sit right at about 20 to 30% of our mean aerodynamic chord. So right there, I'm real happy with that. And if I pull this up, you can see I got the center of gravity lined up right about there, and that's just about perfect. We'll make some fine adjustments at the park. So I'll put a skewer through there, and on the back I'm going to put a skewer through. Let's see, I'll put a skewer through right there. I got my rubber bands. Get those out of the way. Put it right about there. Actually back a little bit more. Wing on there nice and straight. I like to run four rubber bands. There we go. Our CG is perfect, right about there. The flight test even puts a little dot for the wing where the CG should be, and it's balancing right on that little dot. So I just straighten this out here. So the wing is centered. It's off a little bit. There we go. So now, what I'm going to do is plug in our aileron connectors here, servo connectors, like that. And then this one on this side, I'm going to have to create a little entry point for this to go through. So, break out my torch again and grab my torch. I don't know, I'd be careful here I don't burn any of the wires. Let's see, I want to put that through right about right there. Let's see where that looks on the other side. Oh yeah, it's kind of close to wires there. So I'll just tweak those out of the way. Tweak those wires out of the way. I want to go through right about there. Poke that through. Let's see where that come through. Right about there. Just enough to sneak the servo wire through there. We get this out of the way so I don't knock it over while we're working here. Tie my shoe real quick. Okay, back to work here. I'm going to push the servo connector through that hole that I just made. Push it through with the skewer. I can grab that. And now I'm just going to connect that. It's got a little bit of hot glue around it. Okay, so we're all connected. Create some channels here for these to sit in right here. I'll do the same on this side as well. Anyway, let's power it up, see what happens. I know I got a prop on here, that's okay. We should be all connected. Power on. Let it sit here for a second. ESC's beeping. Nope. Let's see if we got problems here at all. Well, not getting power to my... Well, I'm going to unpower here because there's something going on. Let's see what's going on here. So I got negative and positive going off to my signal, my negative and positive, and that's going off there. Maybe we have to rebind. Let's try rebinding again. Yep, just needs to be rebound. There we go. And I was worried about that. That servo that I put on the back for the elevator here, I recycled one, and I'm not too happy with it. I'm going to replace it. See how it's jumping around a little bit? I'm going to replace it because I don't want to ruin this model. So I'm going to dissect out this servo and put a new servo in there. So stand by. I'll be right back. Okay, so she is ready to go fly. Everything seems to be working okay. Controls are moving in the right direction. So we'll get her flight tested maybe tonight or tomorrow.